Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. This is part 2 of modifications to my Range Rover Evoque. In the last video I spoke mostly about the wireless Android Auto system. I've lived with it now for 2 or 3 days, and I can say that, you know, I'm still very happy I did it, but I should point out that it's a little bit buggy. I think 1 in 10 drives there'll be some kind of issue, something like a black screen that I can't back away from, or the wireless Android Auto doesn't connect, or something like that. It's you know, it's not working 100% of the time. It hasn't happened so far that I actually need to use it and it doesn't work, so it's just been a nuisance. But I'm pretty sure that if I actually need it and I don't have it, I'll be pretty annoyed with it. So for the time being, that hasn't happened. I think one of the things that's triggering the errors is that mirroring function, which tries to duplicate your mobile phone screen to the screen of the car. That hasn't worked at all so far. I think every time I've attempted to do that, it's caused the system to crash or caused the Android Auto to stop working and all that. It might be the fact that you need a separate app on your phone to make it work, and so far that hasn't worked. So I'm very happy with the system again, but it's not as foolproof as an OEM system, obviously, and I mean those are not always foolproof, of course, but it's definitely much buggier than you would expect. And 1 in 10 times, I would say 1 in 10 drives, there'll be some kind of issue that shouldn't be there. Like, for example, if you take a phone call and you go back to the media player, there won't be a media player or something like that. Anyway, sometimes if the drive is long enough, the system will recover, but again, you shouldn't have to worry about these kinds of issues. So there you go, guys. But this video is mostly about Bluespark Pro, and obviously that's why I've got my hood open right now. Hopefully you can see things because it's not the brightest day today. This is my Range Rover Evoque engine. It's the DW12 engine. I keep saying it's a Ford engine, but it's a Ford PSA collaboration, PSA being a French company. I don't think PSA exists anymore. I think they've rebranded as something else. And it has a variable geometry turbocharger. The turbine of the turbocharger actually changes shape, I believe, according to the demand from the engine, which is quite advanced technology, I have to say, and I wish I had it on the BMW as well. But anyway, it's you very rarely find variable geometry turbochargers, aftermarket ones, because they have to be designed very carefully with the engine manufacturer. They're not typically aftermarket options. But anyway, this video is about the Bluespark Pro box. So I've owned this car since 2014. And you know, I'm generally very happy with the performance of the car. Before, this car had a much slower car, so 2.2 liter 190 horsepower engine was a big step up for me, and I was very happy with it. But after getting the M140i and experiencing that level of performance, obviously this car is quite slow. And I hesitated to take it for tuning, but I did want to try out Bluespark because of the tremendously good reviews it had for the B58 engine. So as I said in the previous video, I bought the middle option. There was a higher level option, which is the Bluespark Pro box with boost, and there was a lower end option, but I went for the middle option, and we'll talk about that today. So where is it installed? I mean, you can't see it in the M140i. I installed the JV Plus box in a pretty obvious location. As soon as you open the hood, you could see it, but in this case, you can't see it at all. So it is actually fitted right here in this pouch, tie wrapped here next to the battery. So there's a battery here, and it's tie wrapped over here, quite far away from the engine itself. It's covered in this protective bag that protects it from moisture, essentially, more than anything else. And the wiring harness, the extra wiring harness that was provided, is routed in front of the battery and then behind the engine. Under the engine cover, and it goes to the fuel rail. So it will manipulate those pressure readings, and it will report false readings, and the ECU will adjust the performance of the engine based on those false readings. JB Plus connected to the boost sensor. That's the sensor on the charge pipe that measures the charge air pressure. I wish I could remove this engine cover as easily as I do on the M140i, but unfortunately it's bolted down, so I'm not going to do that. So to install the Bluespark box, it's a relatively simple process. You have to open the hood, then you lock your car, and then you leave your car without you move the key as far away from the car as possible, and then you allow the ECU to go to sleep. So you give it like 5 minutes. That was exactly the same as on the BMW. After that, you can start disconnecting electrical harnesses and all that. If you don't wait for 5 minutes, you may generate error codes when you unplug connectors, because the ECU may not necessarily have gone to sleep and is still talking to the various systems. So you wait 5 minutes. But even that is not foolproof, because some ECUs will wake themselves up and you know, check in on certain electrical systems even when the car is sleeping. So anyway, as a rule of thumb, you lock the doors, move the key away, and wait 5 minutes before disconnecting any electrical connectors. Then you have to remove this engine cover to get access to the rail sensor, which is somewhere around here. And then you plug in the Bluespark Pro harness between the rail sensor and the car's existing harness. So like I said before, it will intercept the signals and it will report different readings to the ECU. Anyway, long story short, it's not a difficult installation. I should also mention that this particular box comes with 5 maps, and each map has an intensity setting, as I like to call it. So you have jumpers, and you can change the map from A to E. Map A being more concerned with engine efficiency and fuel consumption, and map E being more concerned with performance. And then each map, you can adjust the intensity of that map from a scale of 0 to 10, and then you know, depending on your preferences. However, Bluespark does say, not only on the email to me, but also in the guidance material or the installation guide, it does say just keep it at the default setting. It's been optimized to be the best compromise between increased efficiency and increased performance, and so they do recommend that you leave it at the default setting and do not adjust it unless it really doesn't do what you bought it to do. Now for me, I have to say that I'm quite pleased with it. There was a definite improvement in the performance of the engine. I obviously haven't dynoed the car, so I don't know how much, what horsepower was the engine producing before and how much horsepower it's producing now. However, there is a noticeable, I mean, I've driven this car for 7 years, so I think I know how it performs pretty well. But it's definitely more responsive and definitely accelerates more. I'm gonna take it out and do some draggy tests at some point and get some better data with which to you know, substantiate my my belief. But definitely it feels faster. It feels more responsive off the line as well, so I will definitely recommend the Bluespark Pro box to anybody who's interested in increasing the performance a little bit. There is still significant turbo lag, however. I mean, especially well, not just roundabouts, but generally this engine, there is turbo lag. Has it addressed it a little bit? Maybe a little bit, but yeah, the turbo lag is still there, and I guess it's the inherent design of the engine that is prohibiting that from being rectified. Okay guys, so I do continue to recommend the wireless Android Auto. It was a relatively cheap system, and the Bluespark Pro box as well. I do also recommend that as well. For 200 something sterling, it is also highly recommended. I should mention that before you tune your engine or increase the performance with the tuning boxes, you should actually change the oil or service the engine, and I can confirm that this engine was serviced shortly before I attached the tuning box. Another thing I've done is put this Wynn's Formula Gold diesel system treatment into the engine. If you remember, with the M140i, I had issues. The engine was knocking. I was told it was bad fuel, and I tried Wynn's formula, professional formula for my petrol engine, and well, I mean, I struggle with this one because at the same time as putting that fuel cleaner into my car, I also flushed that strange coolant out of the intercooler. So possibly it was bad fuel, possibly it was the intercooler coolant was not the correct coolant, but I'm gonna give the Wynn's formula the credit. I'm gonna assume because other people have reported having that weird coolant in their intercoolant expansion tank as well. It might just have been a different coolant that BMW uses, an undocumented one, not the blue coolant. Anyway, let's assume that it wasn't a mistake, that was properly working coolant, and the Wynn's formula did actually work and resolve the issue. And because of that, I decided to use the same thing for the Range Rover, the diesel version, and you know, it's exactly the same thing. You fill up your car and then you add this into the tank. Obviously, you don't fill it up completely, otherwise it won't go in. But you have to fill it up as much as possible, and then you put this into the fuel tank. You don't need to see a video of me doing that, but yeah, hopefully this will help with the car as well. It does say it reduces fuel consumption, reduces black smoke, complete burn off of soot particles during driving, protects against oxidation and corrosion, prevents deposit formation, and harmless for all after treatment systems. I don't know, a lot of claims there, but anyway, I see no harm in using these every once in a while as a maintenance item. But if we're going to talk about things that actually transformed the Evoque, I have to say that so far the two things that were the most remarkable, that made the most remarkable difference, were of course wheels, and of course everybody knows changing a set of wheels on a car makes the biggest difference. I had the 19-inch OEM wheels. I think they were diamond cut wheels, and I was quite happy with them originally, but then I started to feel that they were not good enough for the car. The car was better looking and the wheels actually made the car less good looking, if that makes any sense. And Range Rover, Land Rover, they don't have the best options for wheels when you customize your car. So anyway, these are aftermarket wheels. They are Velar style wheels, and I have to say that I've been extremely happy with them since day one. I got them through Project 357, and yeah, I've been very happy with these wheels since the first moment I got them. They completely transformed the car. But for me, the biggest difference is the grille. Now, if there's one thing that Land Rover has changed on the Evoque over and over and over again, it has been this front grille. It came out in 2011 with a really crappy, 2-bar grille. Then shortly thereafter, they added the Land Rover badge, and then they changed it again with the Victoria Beckham edition, where they added these lines here. And then they changed it again when they released the adaptive cruise control version, which retained those connecting lines on either side, like the Victoria Beckham edition. But then they changed it again when they did the facelift, and they kept the Victoria Beckham look basically. And then they changed it again. When that version, it didn't last very long, and they changed it again, and they came up with this one to match the rest of the Range Rover family, and this is the best looking one. And of course you can get them with different color of trim, and you can get them in different actual color. I mean, there were Atlas gray versions as well as black versions, but the one thing I can say, even though they keep changing them, even though they kept changing them, they all fit exactly the same. So you can buy the latest one, as I've done. This is an OEM grille. You can buy the latest one from Land Rover or from whoever, and you can fit it on your 2011 Range Rover Evoque. At least that's what this is what I've done. I bought a 2004, this is a 2017 grille, completely different look to my original grille, and it fits just fine on this 2014 Range Rover Evoque. And for me, it has been the most transformative modification to the car. Highly recommended to anybody to do this. And of course there are aftermarket solutions as well that produce this look but this is an OEM grille. It's not an aftermarket grille. And the reason I got an OEM grille is because I do have adaptive cruise control, and I was concerned with, you know, an aftermarket one being detected as an obstacle. You know, if there was first of all, I couldn't find an aftermarket one with the protective plastic cover here for the radar, so I had to go OEM anyway. But even if there was an aftermarket one with the protective cover, I still would have been a little bit concerned that it might be detected as an obstacle. In fact, that was my main concern when I picked up the car after the installation of this grille, just in case the paint was different specifications, just in case something was different anyway, and that the radar would have detected it as an obstacle. Okay guys, that's it. This is part 2 of Range Rover Evoque modifications. Thank you for watching. I know not a lot of people are going to watch these videos, but next video will be for the M140i.